YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It is Kevin Forte coming back to you live here from Long Island. And today we are taking a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. An interesting start to the season for the Leafs. You know, it seems like they can't just have a game for their fans where they're just like, yeah, we're just going to win this game 5-0. No, that's not allowed to happen in Toronto, especially games in Toronto. Now, last night I got a really good slice of that cake in their game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. What a hockey game. You know, I know Lightning fans won't be happy with the result. I'm sure they weren't happy with the Leaf fans after the game either. My goodness, though, what a hockey game, to say the least. So last night is just an amalgamation of the season that has been for the Maple Leafs so far. And what really is interesting about how their season has gone so far is they've had a lot of ups and downs, and that really sums up what they did last night against the Lightning. So looking at their schedule here so far, all right, you've got the Montreal Canadiens, 6-5 shootout victory. That was a game they were losing, mind you. They were losing that game, found a way to come back, win that game in a shootout. A 7-4 win over the Wild. A couple of other games here and there against the Blackhawks, the Panthers. They lost to the Predators and the Kings, the Bruins and the Sabres. So they were actually on a 4-game skid coming into this game. And then they play the Tampa Bay Lightning and immediately go down 4-1 in the first period. Ilya Samsonov gets pulled in the first period, throws his mask against the bench, obviously in pure frustration. And somehow the Maple Leafs, like they did against the Montreal Canadiens on opening night, somehow find a way to win that game, winning this game 6-5 in overtime. And now that is their second overtime victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning so far this season. Just absolutely incredible. The way that the Leafs are playing right now, if they could find a way to play this way the rest of the season, I don't think there'll be any Leafs fans left. I think all of them will go into heart failure with how this season has started for them. But I will admit, their ability to come back in this type of game is really promising. This is a game they should have been left for dead. 4-1, pulling your goalie in the first period, and in a literal last-ditch effort, they pulled their goaltender and tried to bring some life into the team, and they did that. They found a way to tie the game, bring the game up, went up, and were able to score 6 goals when it's all said and done. 5 in regulation and the 6th in overtime. And that is not easy to do against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't care if the Leafs or the Lightning are in a down year. Johansson is their starter. Totally understand all of that. This is still the Tampa Bay Lightning. And they reminded us that last night with goals from Point, Kucherov, Stamkos getting on the board, really, being a pain in the ass like usual. That is what the Lightning do. And that first period, the old Leafs would have laid flat and would have lost that game probably something like 5-1, 5-2. But that's where there's that maybe even more scary situation for Leaf fans, which is the idea of actual hope. Of hope that this could be the team, that this is different than what we've seen from Leafs in the past. But is this actually going to do anything for them when it matters in the springtime? That's all that matters. Nobody cares about the Leafs getting past the first round because they did that last year. So the first round is no longer the standard. They got to the second round. And there are games like this that give you the hope that they could do something special this year. Now, looking at some of their situation right now, they do have a couple of injuries. Connor Timmins out with a lower body injury since the beginning of last month, basically since the season started. Same thing with Muzzin. And now the most recent injuries are on the back end. Jake McCabe is out. Right now it's listed as a groin injury. He's listed as day-to-day, but we'll see what happens. Timothy Liljegren, a lower body injury last week. He has also been placed on the LTIR. So McCabe and Liljegren are out, as well as Jake Muzzin. So that's 3 defensemen gone. And I guess including Connor Timmins, too. He's on the IR. And then your goalie, Matt Murray. So there's a lot of things not going right for the Leafs, but they're still finding a way to stay competitive in the division despite maybe not being in the best circumstance. They're 6-4-2 on the season. They have 6 wins, so it's not necessarily like they're playing terrible, But again, it's 6-4-2. Two games you lost in overtime. Like, there is that little bit of a sense of, like, they're definitely not coming out of the gate as strong as I think Leafs fans would like. And their goals for, top 10 in the league. No surprise there. Goals against, bottom of the league, 26th in the league. This is not surprising anybody. I don't think this should surprise anybody. But what I will say, like I said earlier, is the ability to come back in this game is really promising for a team that has always been known as not having great poise and not being able to shut things down when you have an opportunity to, or scoring the big goal when it's needed. And that was not the case. They were able to execute the other night, being a really good example of that. And looking at where this team is right now, their top point producers and things like that, let me get rid of that ad. Austin Matthews leading the way, 13 goals, 18 assists. Not going to surprise anyone there. Of course, you've got Nylander, Marner, and Tavares right behind him with goals and points. Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Riley, Kalle Yarncroke, Matthew Nyes, Max Domi, John Klingberg, and Tyler Bertuzzi. So there is your band of brothers right there in Toronto. Those are the guys that need to be producing. And, I think there is a little bit, I want to see more from the depth of this team. Noah Gregor has not played that well. They really worked hard to get him into the lineup. And, he just really, I know he's more of a defensive-minded player and playing on the penalty kill and things like that, but he's still a -3. Like, that's not great. David Kampf is in there. He's playing okay. Nick Robertson's only played in one game. Like I said, this is a Leafs team that's definitely, I would say their biggest issue right now is the goaltending from Samsonov. Through 7 starts, he has an .855 save percentage. Like, that is not going to cut it. And Joseph Woll, which you guys see, Brick Wall is our title for the video. He's got a .930 save percentage and a 2.30 goals against average. That is really solid numbers compared to the rest of the National Hockey League. That is really, really nice to see. We just were hoping to see that from Samsonov, but I think the Leafs will take it from whichever goalie. One of the goalies has to be doing well. We don't care which one, just that one of them is playing well. And the Leafs are starting to see that from Wall right now. And that's really big. But I think as the season goes along, Samsonov is going to have to do something here. And it's frustrating, I know, as a Leafs fan, but I know the Capitals, they kind of gave up on him for a reason, as much as I hate to say that. He was really good in Russia and just hasn't been able to transfer that game to North America. And unfortunately, I am worried that he might have played his last season in North America if things continue down the path they are for him right now. But again, we still have time. It's not like an urgent thing. Like tomorrow he's going to get waived. I find that hard to believe. But the Leafs need better goaltending from him. And that is the negative, I will say. They are giving up a lot of goals in front of the net. Teams are reading that. They see the tape of, that Braden Point goal, that 4th goal, right? As much as you'd like to see Sammy get the save there, you really didn't help him at all. Like, he was right in, we talk about protecting the house. They did not protect the house at all. He was literally right in the slot, right in between the dots, in between the circles, right in front of the net, and gets a clear shot. And he was able to pick his corner, and he scored. And when you leave Braden Point there, he's probably going to score more goals than he doesn't in that spot. And that's kind of the problem, right? Like, as much as you want to blame Samsonov, the team, in fact, has played a little bit better just in general in front of Joseph Woll. And that is something to consider here. But yeah, I think you guys hopefully will like this video because I don't give the Leafs a lot of love. I've for over the years, especially during the Kyle Dubas era, I've been very harsh on the Leafs and said, listen, this is a team that still has issues. I think this is a team that is not their complete self, and I think that's evident over the last 4-game losing streak. But this game against the Lightning is hopefully a rallying cry for them. They're in a tough division. Detroit has played extraordinarily well. They came back to earth a little bit this week, but they're still a good team. Buffalo seems to be finding their edge upward. They seem to be playing a little bit better, and the Leafs saw that last week. The Bruins are still the Bruins, at least to this point, even without Bergeron and Krejci. So I think it's really important right now that if I'm a Leafs fan, you just find a way to play the way they have, right? They're not playing great. Avoid those 4-game losing streaks as much as possible. They're going to happen, but avoid them as much as possible. And again, their record isn't that bad. They're third in the Atlantic. Like, as much as you want to be at the top of the division all the time and things like that, that's just not realistic. I think over a full 82-game schedule, the Leafs have the most sustainability. And if they could just find a way to keep the puck out of the net a little bit more, just play a little bit better defensively, that's all we're asking for. Because you see the goal before it goes in most of the time, because unfortunately there just isn't a lack of any real defensive mindset from this team, and that's going to cost them on most nights against the Lightning and other teams like that. Because you can outscore these teams during the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, you will not, or I have to apologize, not even just playoff games. Games, I would say between 70 and 82, that last 12 games of the regular season, things shut down a lot. And we always talk about this going into probably at the end of October into November. We always say every year, wow, look how scoring is up this year and this and that. It always regresses down a little bit to teams probably scoring between 2 to 4 goals a game. Anywhere in that range. And the Leafs, if they could outscore everybody, that's great. But that's, again, as the season goes along, that's just not sustainable. But I will say, Austin Matthews, William Nylander having incredible starts for the Leafs. And that's really nice to see. It's nice to see Marner and Tavares getting on the board. We know I love John Tavares being from an Islanders perspective. But got to give credit where it's due. Those guys are stepping up. They're playing well. And they need to, if the Leafs are going to go on a run this year. Their power play's doing well. Their penalty kill isn't doing well. That's no news. That's not newsworthy here, but it's worth mentioning. The defense is always going to be an issue for the Leafs, and I think they've just accepted that at this point. But we'll see how much longer they could drag this out, because I think that their outscoring teams issue, or their ability to outscore teams, won't be able to do that forever. But if they could play some semblance of defense with this clutch goal scoring, this is a team to watch for once again in the Atlantic Division. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Do you think they're legit this year? Do you think they're for real? Or do you think they will fall off as the season moves forward? Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again next time.